Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I'm here with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So joining us today, Tracy, is Tiffiny Consoli. Tiffiny Consoli is a standout Pool Scouts franchisee, making history in 2024 as the first in the network to surpass 3 million in annual revenue. Her success highlights both the scalability of the Pool Scouts model and her dedication to delivering professional, customer-focused pool service. Tiffany's achievements set the standard for excellence and inspires franchisees across the Pool Scouts brand. Tiffany, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm looking forward to speaking with both you and Tracy.
Well, congratulations on your success, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tracy.
I don't know about you, Rebecca, but I would like to hear where this entrepreneurial journey began. Can you walk us through it, Tiffany?
Sure. So I'll go back to my 20s. And because I think that's where I first got the bug to own my own business. And so after college, I had gotten a job in a mutual funds company and worked in an office, and during that time frame met a friend in Houston where I was living, who was from Colorado and we became good friends, fast friends, and she was ready to go back to Colorado. Spent about a year in Houston trying to get away from a boyfriend and things like that. So we met and hit it off, and I just thought, how cool would it be just to pick up and move? She had this idea for this, what we called a plantscaping business. And so her parents owned a garden center with 7 greenhouses in Glenwood Springs. So we moved to Colorado. We sold everything, packed it all up in the back of her Honda Accord. I was so nervous that morning leaving all of my friends and family and everything I knew from Houston that I was sick that morning before we left. And she jokes about me being sick, and encouraging me to get in the car and let's go. It's going to be fine. So we did, and I was nervous, but it was an amazing opportunity. We drove up there. We lived at her parents' house, and what we did is we went and knocked on doors in Aspen, basically property management companies, and told them our idea that we wanted to grow their pots and flower baskets and um, flower containers in our greenhouses in Glenwood Spring. We would deliver to them fully grown, take care of it all winter long. And then at the end, we were going to pick them up and store them for them in our greenhouses over the winter. And we would do it all again for them in the next year, the next spring. And so we knocked on doors, and I honestly don't remember how many customers we got, but we had a pretty good part of the town where we were staying very busy every day of the week taking care of those containers and pots. And they were beautiful. I have great pictures of that time. And so I did that for 4 years, and that was my first taste of owning our own business, kind of having an accountant, knowing what it was like to have expenses and profitability. And it was very small, but we made enough to each make a living and kind of enjoy
Wow.
life in our 20s. Yeah, so it was
Wow.
it was great. And then
Before you go any further, I got to ask a couple
yeah,
questions.
for
I really got
sure.
to ask a couple questions.
Okay.
Tiffany, my brain's going two different directions. One, this was a brilliant idea you guys had. And the picture I get is, a family having plants in the summer, easier to take care of. Maybe they could do it even themselves. But in the winter, especially in Colorado, these plants needed extra special care. And the greenhouses was a perfect. So the vision I got was like plants going over off to boarding school, right? Is almost what's happening. They come home in the summer, they go to school, they go to the greenhouses in the winter. So it was a brilliant idea. But the thing that hit me is this relationship with your friend. that you were willing to take this massive risk, leave family, friends, everything you knew for many years and take off to Colorado. What was it that allowed you to trust yourself and to trust her?
I think my mom had sort of always encouraged adventure in life. Like even though I didn't actually get to see her experience her life that way. Although I take that back because she was considering her upbringing and also, growing up and going to Catholic school, she did take some adventures on her own. She went from Houston to college at Texas Tech, which was 12 hours from home. And she always sort of encouraged adventure. And then when I met my friend Laura, she had been to Europe and been backpacking and just was a really cool person. And I was just sort of taken and enamored by this person that had already experienced so much in life. She was only a couple of years older than me. And I really wasn't ready to settle into an office job. I knew that I was being distracted by this other idea and this opportunity. And so, I think I told my mom or my family, I'll be back. I'm just going to go do this for a while and I'll be back. And I did come back. I stayed a little longer probably than I thought, but we were successful. And so yeah, I think that's what it was about her.
I love that. So it wasn't a forever commitment. It was a short term, you were going to try something new, and for you, it was an
Right.
adventure, but you weren't doing it alone.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Good
Yeah. We're
point.
still friends, good friends today. I just got back from visiting her at her house in Glenwood Springs this
So
summer.
she's still in Glenwood, and you ended up back in Houston?
I did. So after that, the story
Yeah,
goes on.
tell us what happened after that. What happened
Yeah,
when you...
so probably 4 years after that, she met her husband. And so he wanted to be a part of this business. It wasn't my business, it was her parents' business. So I really didn't have any real ownership in it. And I knew at that point I probably needed to just go back home and figure out what it is that I was going to do from there. And so at that point I went home and I got a sales job and I was working outside sales for a payroll company. And it was sort of like working for myself again. I was in charge of my success, responsible for my own success. And I loved that job. I did really well. That was all about relationship building, walking into doors, making,
Wow.
contacts and earning trust from these people. And that was hard. You put yourself out there. And it's difficult to do that day in and day out, but I did have a lot of success with it early on. And so, yeah, so that was, that was, okay.
So
So
these
that
were
was,
cold, Tiffany, these were cold calls?
yes, cold calls. So,
Same as what you did in
yes,
Glenwood Springs, where you literally went knocking on a door.
that's right. At least then I had a friend with me though, to do it with me. We were
Yeah,
walking in together. This was on my, yeah.
that had to
Um,
build incredible tenacity, commitment, because there's nothing harder than
yeah.
knocking on doors and doing cold call, in my opinion. I don't think.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
courageous. It's courageous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I try to talk to every salesperson that comes through our Pole Scouts door for that reason. Even if I'm not interested, I just give them the courtesy of a conversation.
I like that. I'm going to remember that when I have
Yeah.
people knocking on my door.
Yeah.
You need a
Yeah.
roof, you need a this, you need the
Yeah.
other.
That's right.
So, because you're right, it is really a hard job, and they're putting themselves out there. So this built confidence in yourself. Before, like you said, you had Laura, your friend, that you were doing this together. So you're building more tenacity, more courage, more initiative, more confidence as you're doing this. So now we've got all this success as a salesperson. What was your next career? What happened after that? I want the story. I want to get all the way to Pool Scouts, but
Yeah.
the idea that's going to take a little bit of twist and turn. So,
Yes. So I from there, I started to learn a little bit more about myself and was going through, this might be too much information, I'm not sure, but I decided at that point that I was going to come out. So I was living a straight life, and around 32, or after I'd been at the payroll company for a few years, I went through my own kind of personal realization
Mhm.
that I was gay. So from there, I wanted my connection to the outdoors again. And so there was an REI store, retail store in Houston. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but a really
Mm.
great outdoor
Yeah.
store, sells great outdoor gear. And so I left my sales job and was like, I just want to be connected to the outdoors, but I wasn't ready to leave Houston at that point, again. And so I literally walked in. I happened to know the store manager from high school, in that store, but I started as a footwear sales specialist, and I think I was making $7 an hour or something, minimum wage. And
Yeah.
started as sales specialist, and within a year I had been promoted to assistant store manager. And then I believe a year later they posted a job opening for a brand new store in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so
Oh,
I
that's how
applied for
we
the
got
job.
to Raleigh.
That's how I
Okay.
got to Raleigh. Yep. So moved to North Carolina and ended up working for REI for 13 years, and ran two stores, and I had about 4 year, or I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years in HR, human resources, for our South District stores. Um, so that experience was also just one that and so was so fortunate to have on REI, such a great companies, great people. I had very strong leaders that I learned from during that time frame, but I was running my own business, basically, my own
Mhm.
customers, my own employees, my own budget. And so that feeling again started coming up of like, I want to have my own business. I know I can do this. And retail gets hard when you're working nights and weekends and holidays. I had met my now wife. I had met her, and so she did not have a retail schedule, and so it just was starting to just feel like I need to change again. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's was then the transition to Pole Scouts from there.
So interesting. I feel like every few years you went through a transition that built on your confidence and your courage. And thank you for sharing parts of your personal life with us. We really appreciate that.
Good.
On this show, we like, as Rebecca says, we like to get to the heart of the
The
matter.
heart. Yeah,
Right.
we want to get to the heart.
I don't know if I'm going to phrase this question the right way, but what was it about your experiences and about building that confidence and courage in your professional life that translated to your personal life that made you feel like, hey, I can do this. I can be who I want to be and share it with the world.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think one of the things about REI was that they were a very open company. And I was able to tell my store manager what I was going through personally. And so being at a company that supports who you are, no matter
Mhm.
who you are, was huge for me, because it was difficult. It was a difficult time for my family and for me. And so to have a company where I could go to work every day and feel confident and gain confidence about who I was, and then build on that confidence with everything I was learning about leadership and running a store. That was probably a huge pivotal moment for me in my life, that experience being allowed to be who I am, and still having to learn how to be okay with who I was with people. So if that makes sense. Yeah.
That
What
makes
is
sense. If I may, that makes sense because, there's all of this, especially as women in general, we have the imposter syndrome. And then if we're being a leader and we're stepping up front and center, but yet we have something in our personal life that we feel
Mhm.
like we're keeping quiet about, it probably, I would imagine that it compounds that imposter syndrome. Did you find that?
Absolutely. You said that so well. I don't know if I've heard that term, but that's exactly what it feels like. It's, you're here you are, leading people and needing them to believe in you. But when you're not able to fully share yourself and who you are, it doesn't allow you to be everything that you can be as a leader, you know. So that was hard, and something I had to kind of learn to get through and be okay with and be confident and share my life with people so that they could get to know me better.
Yeah, instead of hiding parts of you. That's
Right.
such a great question, Tracy. Thank you for asking that. Um, what's interesting to me is REI gave you a place to be yourself, loved you for who you are, appreciated you for who you were. Um, I think that kind of love and that kind of acceptance is where humans really bloom, right? If
Mhm.
we trying to meet everybody's expectations and feeling judged for this, that, and the other, right? I got the wrong color eyes. I don't
Mhm.
think we ever can really bloom. Do you agree?
No, I do. Yes. It's
Wow.
yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we've now gone to REI. We have a relationship that's developing, that later
Mhm.
you get married.
Yeah.
And then tell me why Pool Scouts? What was the attraction to Pool Scouts? You're an outdoorsy individual, but why Pool Scouts?
Yeah. So I had been looking for opportunities. And, I knew that there wasn't anything that I knew how to do like really well. I kind of tell the story like I didn't know how to bake cookies or bagels or whatever. I knew that I needed to find a business that I felt comfortable getting into that was already there. I couldn't invent something on my own. And so I started looking at different things out there. I looked at so many different opportunities. And then I came across Buzz Franchise Brands, who is our franchisor. They had a mosquito company in my area, and I looked into it and I really liked it, but there wasn't a territory where I lived at the time. And so I passed it up and I just kept thinking the whole time, why did I pass that up? I shouldn't have let that go by. And so I just kept looking, and then I happened to be on LinkedIn, and I learned that BFB was starting a new brand, Pool Scouts. And I called
Mhm.
them. So it's funny because my wife is not a risk taker at all. She worked at the same company for 36 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, loves, being able to go home at the end of the day and not have to worry about anything, and do a great job at work while you're there, and then be done when work is done, you can go home and relax. So I'm the risk taker, and I think she was a little resistant, but she knew that I needed to try this. And so I jumped on the opportunity. I called them, and she went with me. We went in, and I already knew that I liked them as a franchisor.
Mhm.
Already felt like they were successful. And I knew, I knew about them, and I learned a little bit more about the people that were running their companies, and so their brands. And so I liked, I felt confidence and I felt trust in them. So we went together, and she tried to poke holes in it the whole time we were there. It was Discovery Day. And we really couldn't poke any holes in it. And what was standing out to me was it was an outdoor business. It was a service business, which I was really passionate about, was customer service. And I loved the brand, and it was also semi-seasonal. So at the time,
Yeah.
before we got so big, we had time off in the winter, and we still do have some time off. I can talk more about that later, but those were the things that attracted me to it. So I was going to get a little bit of life balance, or I thought I was, and then I had the outdoor aspect and the service aspect. So that's what attracted me to Pool Scouts.
You had your time off in the winter. Is that like a respite like the plants had?
That's
Right?
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
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 yeah. It's a time to recharge. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Let me get some clarification. Um, so Pool Scouts comes under Best Franchise Brands.
Mhm.
Were you one of the very first franchisees then?
I was the very first Pool Scouts franchisee. Yep.
Well, that gives me chills.
I
So
know.
you were the trailblazer. You were,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
wow. But
Crazy. I
like you
know.
said, they had the experience, they had success with the pest control
Yep.
business. So you knew that they would have great systems in place and make this happen. But my guess is that you also were able to give them some wonderful feedback of what you were discovering within your particular marketplace. Did you enjoy giving, being part of something new that way?
I did. So I think that's one of the reasons why this has worked so well for me because I've going into franchising or especially in this situation, I've felt like I was part of something bigger than just my business or my franchise. And that really juices me to feel like I'm part of something bigger, contributing in a bigger way. And so I really enjoyed that part, even though being first is probably not the most um, efficient. You're gonna it's expensive in a way because you're gonna learn together what works and what doesn't work. So it probably put off some profitability, but it was really fun to sort of learn how we can do this business better and sooner for franchisees coming on board. So it was a great experience. We had a great president at the time and he and I really hit it off and it was a team effort. We learned from each other and we've the franchise just continues to get better as we go along. So but yeah, I've made a lot of friends along the way, definitely.
Can you talk about some of those relationships? I know offline you mentioned something to me and Rebecca that relationships can be both positive and negative within business or when you're working in a business. Can you
Right.
elaborate on that?
Sure. So, it's something that's really important to me. It drives me to build relationships with people. Um, and I think what you have to be careful of is not everybody's going to always like you and I tend to have in the past been a people pleaser. And so that has helped me along the way to be successful, to want to do a good job for people and make people happy. But when you at some point in times that comes at a cost and at an expense. And so that's something that I still work on today, but I'm getting better at, right? And especially as a leader, you kind of need to know where to set those boundaries and when it's not about making other people happy, but ensuring that you're making the right decisions for everybody involved.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. I
sometimes
think
sometimes you have to make a difficult decision or for that may not be positive for someone, but it's the right decision for your business or for you. And you have to make that choice.
And that's hard, especially as women. I
Yes.
think we are more wired to be people pleasers and we want people to be happy. We want to do best. Never mind, you also had this inclination around customer service in general. You loved it, right?
Yes.
But there are
Yeah.
boundaries that we have to set to protect our own businesses and time,
That's right.
especially if we're looking at work-life kind of balance.
That's right.
So, was there a moment where you go, I'm a people pleaser. I got to work on myself. I mean, what was the wake up call? Because I am too, trust me, and I can tell you how many messes I've gotten into.
Right.
But was there a moment when something that came up and you're going, okay, something's got to give here. I can't keep doing this.
I think when you own your own business, everything everything shows up. All the positives and all the things that aren't so good about yourself, that all just
Yeah.
starts to reveal itself. And so I really think it's been my journey through Pool Scouts where I've learned a little bit more about how that can be detrimental at times, how that has helped me be successful, but also can be detrimental. So it was early on in Pool Scouts where anytime you own your own business, you're going to spend a lot of time in that business. But when you're trying to do everything yourself and make sure that everybody around you is happy, it's exhausting. And so I think it's been this journey through Pool Scouts where I've probably learned the most about myself, good and bad. So
Wow.
yeah.
Can you
I
share some of those with us? Like some of those things that you've
Yeah. So I think it does go back to, not wanting to disappoint people
Mm,
or wanting people to like you. As a leader, I know how important it is that we have a great culture in our company. And so building that culture oftentimes is, making sure that we are caring about our employees every day and that
mm,
they feel cared for. Um,
mhm,
and then even for our customers, right? And so sometimes in those relationships, I've put myself out there a lot, been 24 hours a day, phone is on, and taking those calls and sometimes really helping people through some difficult times. But and then I'm trying to think of even like business, more of like a financial or business example where it's been where I've learned that, you have to make a hard choice. So maybe it's cutting back on hours or payroll or something like that, where we need to be successful as a business, we need to be profitable, and we have to learn how to cut expenses in areas that might impact your people or might even impact your customers sometimes. And
yeah.
so making those difficult choices has been
Mm.
something that I've had to get used to and learn how to do along the way. So
yeah.
You're a faster learner than I am, Tiffany.
I don't
I
know.
guess as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, what causes people to become people pleasers, right?
Right.
Um, I think in my case, the only way we got any attention or love at home was to perform, right?
Mm, yeah.
Straight A's, cook a meal, clean the house, take care of your brother,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And even then, that's just my story. So I associated love and acceptance with
Mhm.
performance.
Yeah.
Um, and in your case, you spent many years hiding a
Mhm.
part of yourself.
Right.
I wonder how much of that turned you into people love me, you know,
Right.
kind of thing. And again, I'm
Abs
stretching things here a little bit, but do you think that had something to do with the
Absolutely.
people pleaser?
Yeah, for sure. So, I wanted my mom to be proud of me, my parents to be proud of me. And, as a youngster, I wanted to wear, tube socks, and I wasn't really into, dresses, but my mom would definitely make me look great in the little dresses and things that she would buy for me. And so, but there was always this feeling of wanting to make sure, especially as the oldest child. I have a younger brother, and so I think as being the oldest child, and then also wanting your parents to love you, you're always trying to sort of please or show up the way that they want you to. I didn't want to disappoint, and so
Yeah.
that was, yeah, that's a great example of, become sort of ingrained in you, when you're trying to be the person that you think you're supposed to be for
Mhm.
everyone else.
Yeah. Which goes back to what Tracy says. It doesn't bring out that authentic.
Right.
So it's kind of it's going against who we are,
Right.
right? In
Yeah.
an effort to make someone else like us or approve of us or accept us or whatever. I mean, the good news is some of that made you a phenomenal customer service person, right?
Right. Yep.
Which allowed you to build your business, but it can go to the extreme, as you pointed out.
Yes.
Wow. So, Tracy, did you have something you wanted to contribute to that? Because I think I interrupted you, hon.
No, 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 I'm good. I'm good. I'm just I love the conversation. I do.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think many of us, and that whole idea of imposter syndrome that you brought up, Tracy, is so big
Hmm.
for women. And then add on to that, we can't be ourselves.
Right. Right.
And it's like, what? Um,
Yes.
okay, so tell us about how in the world did you go from first franchisee where you're literally kind of figuring a lot of it out together with them, right?
Yep.
Superstar, $3 million a year growth. How
Right.
did you build that?
Well, I mean, it started with a lot of drive and this a feeling of I can't fail and I don't want to fail. And
Mm.
so that was definitely I had gotten us into this, and so I needed to make sure that we were going to be successful. So in the beginning, it was hard. I mean, it was hard work. You know, that first season. I knew nothing about pools, so it literally was like a fire hose. I was going out and I was learning everything about pools and pool equipment. Um, but I did it, and for some reason, it came really quickly to me and really naturally. I tried to hire people with experience, and that certainly helped to get us over the hump. But I'm coming home every day during pool opening season. My socks are drenched and my feet stink and I'm a mess. And, we're going to have dinner and I'm just, all I can think about is how I didn't know how to prime that pump that day. And, how am I going to get through the next day? We've got, more customers to get to. So it's a process, and you get through those first couple of years and you set goals for what you want it to look like and what do you want it to be? And we started with one vehicle out of our house. And I just knew that I wanted to be the best pool cleaning customer service business in the Raleigh area. That's really what, I was like, I was just driven to be really good at it. And so, and be big, be the biggest. But I don't think I realized at the time when we had one van working out of our house that we would one day have 22 vehicles and be $3 million. Not at that moment. Now, as we continue to grow and add vehicles and add people and add customers and get Google reviews, it became more of a reality of like, oh my gosh, we have something here. And
Mhm.
we're gonna keep setting these goals and working the plan and to get there. And so yeah, it was a process, but we made investments early on to make sure we had the people to get us to where we wanted to be. And that's really where it all starts, is you got to have the right people to do that.
Well, it's very clear that you put so much thought and time and heart and effort into your business.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Gosh.
What's next? Wait, let me qualify that. What's next, both personally and professionally?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's going to be
That's
mayor
a
of Raleigh Durham.
yeah. What's that?
You're going to be the mayor of Raleigh Durham.
No,
Period.
I think I'm moving more towards what's the next for me and my wife as a couple. She's retired, so we're thinking about, okay, what does retirement look like
Mhm.
for both of us, and what does that mean for Pool Scouts? And so we're in the process right now of hiring a general manager. I've been playing both general manager and owner, which is a really hard role to play, and I've been doing it probably longer than I should have been. But I've had a hard time letting go of my baby. So we're working on that, and I think if we get a great general manager in place, I'll be able to step out just a little bit, have a little bit more time for some of the things that we want to do, and then we'll see where it takes us. There's always that potential down the road that we could sell Pool Scouts, but that's not really where we're at right now. And so if we can keep the business running, and maybe I've thought about even business coaching or something
Mhm.
like that, where I'm doing something on the side that takes a little less of my time. I think I would really enjoy helping other franchisees and other business owners, because it's just something have become really passionate about.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So,
I love it. Yeah, I love the idea of you becoming a coach
yeah.
to others because you've been through it all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you would have great perspective.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be a crazy, stupid question, but it's on my mind. When you would come home from working on these pools and you're talking about wet socks and stinky feet, were you wearing tube socks?
That's a great question. No, I have now I'm a anklet girl. I like the no-show socks, So
No show.
I went from the striped tube socks as a youngster to now the no-shows. That's great.
I remember those striped tube socks
I
in high
know.
school. Oh my goodness.
I have some great pictures of me with the tube socks and the basketball under my arm, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So,
Yeah. That's when I remember them too, is from playing basketball.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, talk to us about advice you would give the younger you or a young woman that's considering becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a franchisee. What do you wish you would have known a number of years ago?
I think listening to your inner voice is really important. So, if you think you have a desire or something, a calling to do something, listen to that, trust it, and go after it because that voice is so important and so big that it is if you follow that calling, I feel like you're going to be successful because that's really where your heart and soul is telling you to go.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, I think you know, I think the thing that women do well is that relationship building part. And we also multitask really well. So I think those are strengths that a lot of women have that if they lean on those, it can really help them to be successful in whatever they do. And that was something that I did early on in the pole business was build relationships with our distributors, with pole builders, with other service companies, make friends in the industry, so that I could learn as much as I could from them. And then the other piece is that financial piece. Sometimes we might be missing some of that business savvy or that financial aspect. And so, you know, open yourself up to learning that, put yourself in situations where, you have people that you can consult with or learn from to coach you through the financial side of the business. It's so important that, that you're managing your revenue and your costs and your expenses and becoming profitable as soon as you can. And sometimes that doesn't come as natural to some of us. So. But if you're in a franchise, you'll have that type of support, but you can't be afraid to say, "Hey, I need some help here."
Yeah, got to look at those numbers.
Yeah.
Great.
So that
Tiffany.
was like a double whammy. That's four wonderful pieces of advice. One, listen to the inner voice. Two, build those relationships. What was the third one? Oh, you learn how to become a multitasker if you're not
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
And
then
learn.
finally, enjoy the numbers. Pay
Yeah.
attention to the financials. I
Yep.
think it's great advice.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. This conversation could go on for hours and hours and hours. We're going to be watching you as you consider what's next.
Mhm.
Um, and there's no doubt you've already had a huge impact on others at Pool Scouts and even in your surrounding community by being a model, right? Being a model of what an entrepreneur, what a franchisee could be. So, directly or indirectly, you have affected the lives of many with Pool Scouts in your community. So, I admire you. I really do, Tiffany. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to tell my story. I appreciate it.
And
Where can our listeners reach
oh,
you?
thank you. I almost forgot that.
Ah, yes. Well, poolscouts.com/triangle. You'll find everything you need to know about our company and our phone number and a little bit about me on there as well. So,
Great.
yeah.
And over to you, Tracy, for your final thoughts.
Yeah, it's just this conversation is making me realize that like stereotypes come in all different forms. Like being a people pleaser is a stereotype. There are
Hmm.
so many types of like labels that we have to that it's important to break out of. And I love the fact that you've been through so many different scenarios. And it seems to me like each role that you've had has built that next brick of confidence in a different way that you keep layering up this I'm not going to say that it's a wall, it's more like stepping stones right? So each piece builds on the last, and
Right.
you do all of that, and you just give off such a heartwarming vibe, and you're such a trailblazer. I totally see you as being successful as a coach because you're so relatable.
Oh,
All of these different experiences, all of these different facets of you make you a very, very relatable person. So I definitely wish you luck in this next season. I think you're going to do amazingly well, just like you've done in all your other seasons.
thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. Very kind.
Thank you. And thank you to those listening in today. Make sure to comment, share, like Tiffany's interview. Of course, also subscribe. And we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.
Bye.